All right, welcome to episode 52 of the At Bat Podcast, presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, joined by my co-host Miles Porter. How we doing today, man?
Hey man, doing good. A little tired from work. I'm not gonna lie to you. A little tired from work. But good news is, man, the hitters, man, we great win. Really fun game. Um, as per usual, I never know the teams that we play against, but right now I think we're sitting around like 8-3 at the moment. And then going into our home opener this weekend, 2 games on Saturday and then 2 games on Sunday, and then I'll be in Green Bay next week for that
Damn,
big series and playing in a stadium and fans. It's just I'm excited, man. So
that's awesome.
we're off to a good start, and I like to tell the boys that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we just take it one game at a time.
Yeah, hey, and you not even not knowing what team you're facing, man, it's probably just to do with the tunnel vision you got, right? It's like you go up there, you're just trying to hit. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's like not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like it's not even and that I can't relate to that because I feel like that just is a zone that I don't think I've ever been in myself. Uh, but that I admire that because I feel like it's one of those things where like you're so focused to the point where like dude everything is just I'm doing my thing. So that's pretty badass. But hey, it's good the Milwaukee Jaguars are doing work and getting those W's. Because we're a
Yeah,
Milwaukee
man.
Jaguar pod. You know what I'm saying? We're always paying attention to the Milwaukee Jaguars. So,
Yeah, man.
but individual though, how many hits did you get this weekend?
It was a 2 for 3 game on Sunday. The first pitcher, honestly, was kind of like facing. I'm trying to think
Hmm.
because this guy wasn't blowing anybody away, but obviously his fastball has some sort of rising, tailing action to it. So he
Hmm.
was missing a lot of barrels for the first like 4 or 5 innings until we started tagging him. I was 2 for 3, but he struck me out my first at bat, and the fastball just looked straight. But man, that thing had some movement on it, so it was nasty to face. It was really nasty to face, and then it was once I started recognizing his fastball and really connecting with it, then the breaking pitches were starting to be brought out more. He was missing those low, so I was able to lay off those. And so I think as a team, we did a good job of really adjusting to that and actually got him out the game around like the 6th inning. And then they really
Hmm.
had to run through their arms after that. We just we just opened it up on them. Also, shout out to the fans that were talking crap to me when I was hitting. It was just dumb because as you know, I struck out my first at bat, and then I come up, and this is like my second or third at bat. I forgot, and this guy
Hmm.
is like, oh, Porter, oh," because he basically the count got back to 0-2, and the guy in the
Hmm.
stands was like, oh, Miles is 0-2. You know what that means? Then I smoke a double between the left and center fielder, and then I get on second base and I wave at him, and then someone drives me in, and then I slide into home and I look at him and I scream, and I'm like, yeah. It's like, is that what happens when I? More of the stories, do not talk crap to me. I'm the
Yeah.
most friendly guy in the world, but you do not. If you want to be petty, we can be real petty, but I try to lead by example. But don't do that.
Moral of the story: do not poke the Miles Bear. You do not poke him
Yeah, man.
because he'll come at you. Hey, that's like
I'm
almost
also
like when
friendly too. Like I'm a friendly
exact,
guy. I'm always talking to the
yeah,
team. Like
exactly,
I
yeah.
like to interact with the fans as well. I'm like, don't.
You,
All right.
that hey that does, hey that but that is it's one of those things. Sometimes people when you're nice, people are like, hey, oh, maybe we can mess with that guy. Hell no, not
Yeah,
always, bro. Hell
yeah,
no.
bad idea. Yeah,
It, that kind of reminded me of like the fans in Colorado when they were like a few weeks ago when they were coming at Harper and then Harper hit I don't know if he hit a homer or maybe he scored or something and he like yelled
oh
at
yeah,
him.
he
He
had
was
like a
like,
double or something,
"You
right? Yeah,
yeah," and he like yelled at him and said loser. So I just think it's hilarious.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you love to see it when you talk back and get
I
do your
love it.
work
Yeah.
and come back. Hell yeah.
Hmm.
But we'll start off with Major League Baseball in the city of Chicago, and of course, we'll start off with the White Sox this time around. They're 28-35. They just started their road trip with their 2-0. They beat the Yankees. They officially have won that series. And they're getting kind of hot now. And then we're talking about the
Yeah.
Sox, who we thought a couple times they're getting hot, a couple times they were starting to get on a roll. And most of that was against the AL Central, which to be fair, they did just come off of a sweep of the Tigers. But I mean, when you're beating the Yankees in a series, that's a big deal. I don't even care the fact that they don't have Judge because they don't. He's went to the IL with an injury to his toe. But look, it doesn't matter to me because I mean the Yankees are just a great team regardless. They got Stanton back, so they can do some damage. I mean
Yeah.
today was six. Today's game we're recording this on Thursday. The White Sox hit 4 home runs. They outslugged the Yankees as they won 6-5. So they were able to hang around with those guys. But really, what I wanted to talk about, especially for the last week or so, was that sweep against the Tigers, which was nice after they lost 3 out of 4 against the Tigers at Comerica. Um, they ended up sweeping them, and they had one of the biggest and best parts of that series was that quadruple burger from Jake Burger. I said quadruple burger, hold the ketchup because he had that grand slam to walk it off, bro. And by the way, we had Gabe Wilkins, of course, the host of Open Run, who you've seen plenty of times in the show. He said he was there, and it was one of the most electric walk-offs he's ever seen. And I think he said he's already seen like a handful of walk-offs this year. So that's awesome. Love to see it for my boy Gabe. But yeah, I mean, look, when you look at through this White Sox, when you go through this White Sox lineup and you look at the guys that are in it, obviously they have. We've always talked about the talent. We talked about it to ad nauseum, right? That
Yeah.
they have an immense amount of talent. And Luis Robert and Jake Berger have been their two best players. But can you
Mhm.
make for you? I wanted to ask you this: can you make an argument that Berger has been their most consistent Sox player this year?
Yeah, for the most part. I think,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of moments he's also just coming through when he has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's toting a 270 average right now and he's popped 13 over the road and has driven in 31, which is a good amount at this point too. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's cool. It's cool kind of seeing players like him come into themselves a bit. This is a White Sox team that has been very hard to predict. Sometimes we feel like they're in, sometimes we feel like they're out. But these last 5 games that they have won, clearly they are playing with a goal. So it is kind of hard to predict what is this team going to do
Mm-hmm.
around the deadline because it has been a very up and down year, but they have really turned this thing around. Um, I always talk about the players within this lineup being being one of the best lineups in baseball on paper, and now they're starting to play like it. Well, at least they've been playing like it lately. So
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I don't know about you, but that was the most Chicago baseball walk off I've ever seen when the ball hit the umpire. I'm glad the umpire is
Oh
okay. It's
yeah,
unfortunate, but this was
yeah.
that's not happening anywhere else but at a Cubs game or a Sox game. I don't care what anyone says. That is the most Chicago baseball thing I have
Oh
ever
my
seen in my life.
God.
So it's cool. It's cool seeing little victories like that. And now, what are they tied for like second in the division?
Mm-hmm.
So good for them. And this division is what it is with everyone having a losing record, but still, they've playing some inspired ball. They're right there. If they continue this, who knows? So I'm hoping that they kind of keep this momentum going, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the Sox are not out of it.
Yeah, man. And look, and you're right when it comes to their division. I mean, they really are not going to be out of it for a while, which is how bad the
Yeah,
division is. So they're game back
yeah.
from the Guardians. The Guardians are second right now as we speak, but that could end
Oh, okay.
by the end. But you might be right by the end of the day though, because
Hmm.
they're playing the Yankees in this doubleheader because of course that game yesterday was canceled or was postponed because of the air quality, of course, because of the Canada fires.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so right now, as we're recording this, it's the bottom of the fourth. Yankees are up 2-0. But Clevenger's pitching, so you're hoping he can keep it there at 2-0 so the Sox bats can wake up. I
Yeah.
know the Yankees have out there Randy Vasquez, a young 24-year-old right-hander. So yeah, hopefully that works out
Yeah.
for them and they're able to get it. But yeah, going back to what you were talking about, with the walk up, that was wild to see that happen. And Gabe,
Yeah.
I believe Gabe was also at that one too, because that just goes to show how many. Because he's a season ticket holder for all the weekend games, and he was saying
Yeah.
how like that was just crazy to him. The whole the fact that it hit off the umpire and yeah, it's just like I don't think a lot of people knew what was going on, but they just saw the run cross like go across the home plate, and
Yeah.
that's I mean, and it obviously did count, so it's fine, but like that's something you might never see again. Like it's just that's how rare it is, right?
Oh
So
my
the fact that
gosh.
that
Yeah.
happened and the fact that that happened here, was hilarious. But I obviously hilarious just because the guy's okay. Good thing the umpire's okay. But yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
talking about Jake Berger again. I mean, that dude is just
Yeah.
all he's done is come up and hit. I mean, you're going back to when he first was brought up, and he had an 807 OPS last year. Had a respectable 761 in 51 games, and then
Yeah.
of course this year in 44 games, he's got a 955 OPS, and he's got a great shot and making the All Star team. Really, just come.
It does.
It's really just between Berger and Robert of who's going to make the
Yeah.
All Star team for the White
Hmm.
Sox. So that's going to be
Hmm.
something to watch out for. Or let me ask you this too, as well as like
Yeah.
right if you know if you had to pick between the both of those guys right now, who would you have going to the All Star game? I know they both might go, but let's say you were the manager Miles Porter. Who would
Hmm.
you pick out of those guys right now?
Ooh, that's really, really tough. They actually have very similar numbers,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, which is makes it kind of hard. And maybe some people who enjoy batting average might go with
Hmm.
Berger, but I mean, dude, it's like point 0.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really hard.
Hmm.
I think Berger's really come into his own this year for the White Sox, which
Hmm.
has been very helpful in keeping them in it. Um, and Luis has been incredible in the field and offensively, he's had a pretty solid year as well.
Hmm.
I think I might still go with Luis Robert Jr.
Hmm.
Um, because I think he has still kind of been one of the main focal points of his ball club staying afloat,
Hmm.
aside from the moment that he had a month ago when he didn't run one out, whatever, he's made up for it. And then really this is a guy who's always hustling. So I think I might go with Luis Robert Jr., but by a little bit.
No, you're right. I'm right there with you because Robert does both. He plays defense. I know
Yeah.
Berger. Sometimes he plays third. Sometimes they try to play him at second, whatever. Right, but
Hmm.
most of the time Robert's playing center field, and he's got the speed to be a gold glove caliber outfielder, of course.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to that might be the thing that splits it, but that separates them. But that's a very good argument to be had there because those are two guys that have been a big part of the White Sox lineup. And Robert,
Yeah.
as you said it yourself. He's been there. One of the big parts of them coming back in May, kind of having a
Yeah.
very good. He's one of the best players in May actually. So it was good to see there. And and he did hit a home because I know he went a little cold heading into June, but by his standards, and then he actually hit a home run today against the Yankees. So hopefully it's a good sign. It was to, like dead
Yeah.
center, it was a rocket to dead center. So hopefully it's one of those things where he'll be able to find it back and
Yeah.
do well again. But yeah, I mean it's good to see the White Sox get on a better stretch of winning games here because they need that. And we talked about it with their division. I mean everyone in that division is under 500 now, which is just something I don't know if I've ever seen before because that's just ridiculous. With
Yeah.
the Twins atop the Central, 2 games ahead of the
Yeah.
Guardians at 31 and 32. That's
Yeah.
insane, and that's still with the Twins losing 5 games in a row. So
Hmm.
that's just it just goes to show it's insane. But yeah, luckily Cease and Clevenger were dealing against the Tigers. Clevenger, of course, came back from the IL in that series and was able to pitch again. He's been one of the more consistent guys when he's been on the mound for the Sox, for sure. And then of course Hendricks earned the win on National Cancer Survivor Day, so you love to see that.
Yeah. That's big. Yeah.
And he did earn the save again as well on Tuesday night against the Yankees in the game that was very tightly contested. Again, the White Sox won that 3-2, so you love to see that as well. And that was part of the game where Giolito mystified the Yankees. Man, he's the only White Sox pitcher in franchise history to have two 6 no-hit appearances in the same season. What I like to call the Sebi Zavala game because that dude hit 2 home runs in that game.
Yeah.
One was a porch shot, but they all count the same. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to series like the White Sox beating the Yankees, how much momentum do you think that would give a team? Like if you're going out there from a player's perspective, and let's say your team's
Yeah.
struggling a little bit, right? And like overall on
Yeah.
the season, not lately, but I know the White Sox are undefeated in June, but still
Yeah.
compared to the Yankees are just a better team. They're just built better. Obviously, they don't have Judge, but how much confidence can that give a team when you take them out in a series?
College coach always says it takes one, bro. It just takes one to just kind of spark that, and then you add that big win. on top of the 4 games that you just came off of. So it's just it all the White Sox should be feeling great. And even when you look at this roster as a whole, I think they're pretty healthy. Not really
Hmm.
any significant
Hmm.
players going down. And knock on wood, the last thing I ever
Hmm.
want to do is jinx a team.
Yeah.
Um, but that's great for them. That's great that they're sort of at full capacity right now, and they're heating up. They are right there, and this is big. And those Sox Yankee series are always fun to watch. So yeah, why the Sox should be feeling really good right now because they got something cooking. Now it's just a matter of staying consistent. It still may be a little bit up and down throughout the year, but like you said, they're never really going to be out of it with this division. So the White Sox just go out there every day, just do what you can, get as many wins as you can because this is a team with even if they lose 3 more, they're still going to be somewhat competitive in this division.
Hmm.
They're never going to be out of it. So there's a lot to be excited about. If I'm a Sox fan, I'm not jumping ship. I'm probably getting pretty hype. Um, but also staying within reason that this just might be one of those seasons where it's going to be just very up and down. But that makes for fun baseball. It makes for fun.
Yeah, you're right, and just the fact that they're going to be in it all season, and the fact that this division is so
Yeah,
poor.
yeah,
I've heard it multiple times from a lot of people is that because it's easy to want to jump shit when your team goes on a 3, 4 game losing streak
yeah.
in May or June. But man, I mean, you really it is true that all you need is one good week and you're back in it. You're thinking division title. So
Yeah,
that goes for both the Cubs and the White Sox. So
yeah,
it's insane how these divisions are going and kind of going through it. But you're right. The White Sox are kind of they're basically at full force right now. Eloy Jimenez hit a home run today as well. So you think if
right.
he gets hot, this lineup gets that much deeper. I mean, we're talking about Berger being one of their best players, and he's hitting like seventh. So it's one of
Yeah,
those things where that it can make that lineup way deeper, and really help them out. And yeah, I mean, and again, this is the start of a road trip here in New York. That's excuse me, they're playing this series and then they're coming back.
no,
But still, you'll have to see teams play well on the road because they didn't last time out. So good to see there. And of course, they're going
yeah,
to come back, play Miami for 3, then go on the road to play LA and Seattle. So that's going to be a tough go as well. So it's good to rack up wins as soon as
it's has
possible.
to. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but as I said, moving on to now to the north side of Chicago, it's another team that is struggling right now. But hey, you have a good week, anything can happen. But man, it has been a tough go for them recently, and they started their road trip, their 10 game road trip, and they're 2-4. It started off
yeah,
well. With a couple wins in San Diego, they were able to split that series. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win it. They split it. But then they go to LA to Anaheim, excuse me, and they've lost
yeah,
the first 2 of that series. They play the
yeah,
finale here on Thursday. They had Marcus Stroman as player of the week. That was good to see. He had a complete game shutout against
yeah.
the Rays with the one hitter. Then he had 6 shutout innings against the Padres. So that's cool to see. I mean, the Cubs, and I've said this before, they have the 2 of the top 3 individual ERAs in the NL right now with Steele, who unfortunately went to the IL with a forearm strain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see that we have those 2 guys. Hopefully, he doesn't miss too much time there. It's not as serious as they were, first thought it was. But yeah, man, what have you thought of this? These last 2 series, whether it be the Padres or the Angels, what has necessarily gone wrong here? It's mostly from an outsider's perspective, like you
Yeah.
see that team and you just think they're bull. I mean, it's almost always their bullpen that has kind of
Yeah.
faltered. But man, I think at the end of the day, at the core of it all, their offense has been so bad and inconsistent. But yeah, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on
No, that's the point I was going to make. As I think that the offense has just been non-existent. It's been non-existent. Um, I shouldn't say non-existent, but
that? Hmm.
we are not hitting the ball very well. Not a
Hmm.
lot of timely hits. Really, this is a team that really fights for runs. Um, and we're not exactly fighting so much for base runners because
Yeah.
this is a lineup that is, for the most part, is very good at working the count and drawing walks. But getting guys over has just been an absolute struggle. Um, I don't know what our batting average is with runners in scoring position is, but it's I know it's not all that great, and so I mean
Mhm.
we are really missing our offense. I think the pitching actually has not been bad. Obviously, we have two of some of the top guys in the MLB right now and in the NL specifically, and Stroman and Steele, who are really keeping us in games. But man, offensively, we are really, really hitting a wall. And I love Patrick Wisdom, and I really felt that he got off to this incredible start in April. And at the time, I felt like, okay, I think he kind of knows where this team, where a lot of people felt this team was heading, and felt that he really wanted to be a part of it. And I believe that he still does. But man, this has been tough watching P. Wizzy because we know what he's capable of as a power hitter. He is a very big swing and miss hitter. That's just who he is. That's his game. That's totally fine. But we need players like him to really figure it out for the most part. Ian Happ has done everything that he's could. Dansby has gone cold. He's got to find it. He's got to find it. This is unfortunately this schedule, this current schedule that we're facing is not a very easy one. Where we're going to be playing a lot of competitive baseball soon. So yeah, we just gotta find ways to get guys over and get guys in.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been really tough to watch. And yeah, I mean it's a lot of these guys. They started off so hot. I think that's why. I mean, Wisdom's been able to have his 770 OPS, but it has been hard to watch because it really is hit or miss. Literally with him, it's most of the time either it's a
Yeah,
strikeout or an extra base hit or something like that. But it's been rough to see his decline
yeah,
compared to how well he was hitting in April. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean as of right now, the Cubs are have a two. I believe it's a 246 batting team batting average. Um, and so yeah, I mean, when you look at teams like the best teams in baseball, 261 for the Braves,
yeah,
Texas Rangers 277. So you got to be better than that if you want to be one of the top teams in the game. So yeah, and it's one of those things too when talking about how much the offense has struggled with runners in scoring position. There was a stat, and I believe it was David Kaplan that said that the Cubs were 8 for the last 50 this season they're 8 for 50 with the bases loaded. That's crazy to me. So that's going to hurt you whenever you load the bases. And I mean, if I had a dollar for every time the Cubs load up the bases with less than 2 out and they didn't get any runs, we'd both be
yeah,
very rich. So
yeah,
it's not been fun to watch that. Um, and then, of course, another guy who's cooled down immensely uh, has been Christopher Morel. He went from being like
yeah,
a player of the month candidate to a guy who is over his last 18 entering Tuesday's game, and
yeah,
is entering the week because he's sat for Monday and Tuesday's games. So yeah, I mean that's one of those guys that the Cubs kind of need to go if it seems like they haven't really synced up right because in May the Cubs are kind of going downward. He was getting hot. And in
yeah,
April, obviously, they didn't have him, but they were hot and they didn't have him. So it just has they haven't been able to sync up there. And obviously, it's
yeah,
tough not to have Bellinger, and that type of presence in the lineup as he's been
yeah,
doing well for them. So Wisniewski was put back into the rotation. He struggled his second time around against the Angels after giving
yeah,
up a home run to Otani. After that, it kind of went downhill. And also another thing too was they both of those games the Cubs have scored twice. Excuse me, they have scored first twice, and they haven't been able to hold it. They had Brandon Hughes come in the middle of the game, in a big situation, couldn't get it done. Mark
yeah,
Leiter, who has come back down to earth, his last six in the third innings, he has a 7.11 ERA. He was for the first month and a half was arguably one of the best relievers in baseball. So the fact that
yeah.
he's gone down that much, man, it is real tough. But with the offense, so I did ask you in general what you thought the biggest problem was. And you said the offense, but if you had to say what changes you would make, because man, all over the play, and of course a lot of these people on Twitter, of course, a lot of them are just talking just to talk, obviously. But like, because of
Yeah.
course, most of the talk is get rid of Ross, like if he's the one striking out with the bases loaded. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the offense, what changes would you make? Because I see a lot of people saying, "Hey, maybe they should let Mervis, get a break, go back down to AAA." Some people say the opposite. In fact, I'm kind of the opposite. Where like, if you're gonna deal with some things, why not do it here? If they don't, I don't know. That's just me because I don't expect this team to go far at least this year. So why not work on his, get the kinks out here? But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the offense? Is there some guys you think you would send down? Is there some guys you would bring up, et cetera? Like, what kind of changes would you make to the offense right now that you think would kind of get a spark to this team?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I am scrolling through faithfully at the moment. It's definitely hard to pinpoint what exactly is the problem specifically because this isn't exactly a team that's always striking out. We're putting the ball in play.
Hmm.
That's a plus. The Cubs are this is a team that does a good job at putting the ball in play. We were just not finding barrels. We're not finding the green. We're not finding any holes. I don't know. I don't like sending down Matt Mervis. I don't. I mean,
Hmm.
what Aaron Judge hit what like 182 in his first year
Hmm.
in the MLB,
Hmm.
and he came up around the same age that Matt Mervis. No, not no.
Hmm.
The, I hate this kind of jump ship mentality when we have a highly anticipated player that's called up and you know not everyone's going to start their career off like Bryce Harper or Cunha or whoever the
Exactly.
case may be. It's a very hard thing to do. Judge did not start off his career like that, and no, absolutely not.
Hmm.
Shut up. Um, uh,
Look at
it's
Kelnick
crazy,
too.
bro.
Kelnick too, man. Kelnick too was
Yeah,
terrible
you
last year, and he's
exactly.
All-Star candidate this year. So.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give these players chances. And dude, hitting the baseball is so freaking hard, bro. Oh my god, it's so hard to do. You're hitting a ball with a stick. It's difficult to do. Um, I don't know. I don't know what exactly this lineup has to do. But I think what I've learned from specifically college ball and other pro coaches who have taught me stuff, start to hunt fastball and then work your way up from there. Because you start hunting fastball and catching barrels and laying off of certain breaking pitches, good things can start to happen out after that. So maybe adjust your approach a little bit. And I'm not saying lay off of anything that's kind of right
Hmm.
there for you. Um, but definitely look fastball. Look fastball for sure and just kind of build from that moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, this team definitely needs some kind of spark, and you're right, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think sending Mervis down is really going to help the situation, because with a guy like that to send him down when he's already gotten used to the big league game, at least in the last month or so. I'm sure in baseball players, as you know, better than anyone here is the baseball players are creatures of habit, and
Yeah.
once you get a new habit, it's tough to let go of that one. So yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
I think you know you want this team to succeed, you want them to surprise a lot of people, but at the end of the day, you gotta you gotta be realistic in the fact that if they're not going to be able to compete with the Central, with these teams up here, they're not going to go anywhere. They're probably going to sell guys like Bellinger, going to trade guys, like that, and maybe even trade a guy like Smiley, et cetera, and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really no point in sending down a guy like Mervis. Just let him see what he can do. Because hey, a lot of these guys discover themselves when they're going through adversity. So and that's kind of
Yeah.
what's happening right now with Mervis, and hopefully everything works out for him. They're playing the Angels for one more again, like I said tonight. Then they
Yeah.
go to San Francisco and play three more. So hopefully the Cubs are able to find a win over the weekend and tonight. So moving on to the rest of the league. Plenty of stuff happened over last week, man. I mean, and a lot of it bad, a lot of it good. We'll start with the bad so we can end with the good. But Alek Manoah was sent down. We talked about it a little bit, right, over Texas. Man, it has been rough for him all season long,
Yeah.
and he has talked about it. It has been a little bit of the pitch clock, but I don't know if it's that or just that his stuff that hasn't been working out. But 1-7, 6.36 ERA with a 190 WHIP. Just yeah, give me your quick
Mhm.
thoughts on what have you thought on the Manoah sent down. I mean, you were surprised, and not only that he got sent down, but where he got sent down, right?
No, man, he got sent all the way
All the way
down.
down.
Oh man, and in a way, you can almost look at it as like this will give him kind of the time to work on his stuff, to kind of work on his pace of the game, and whatever the case may be. If it is the pitch clock, I don't know. I kind of like. I think it's kind of cool that they did that, because he's kind of going into a much less publicized area to kind of work on his
Hmm.
stuff to succeed. Um, More quiet, a more quiet setting, kind of more time for him to kind of work with himself and work with the coaches there. Um, it has been a rough year for Alec Manoah, um, and he had an incredible year last year, and turning into kind of a celebrity and becoming himself. Uh, it's definitely it's for me it's definitely hard to watch a guy from being in the All Star game in Los Angeles last year to getting sent
Hmm.
all the way down. Like they're all the way down.
Hmm.
Saul, there's so many levels below the MLB. What is triple A, double A, working backwards
Double A,
right now, high A, low A,
low
rookie
A.
ball?
Yeah, it's what. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's
You're
crazy. I mean,
telling
dude,
me that we're gonna send him all the way down.
why
Whew.
do you think they?
I think
Why
that
do you
there's
think
some
they
sort
sent
of
him?
plan in place.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, there's got to be a reason why I sent it down to rookie ball,
Yeah,
right? Like, there's
and
got
I
to be a
think it's a
plan.
mental thing too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
definitely a mental thing that's going on because you're not just going to send a guy who was an
yeah.
All Star last year. You don't usually. There's more to that story,
Hmm.
that has not been, kind of released to the public.
Hmm.
Good, not our business. Obviously, we talk
Hmm.
about it. Good, that's fine. I think it's more of the mental side for him
Hmm.
right now. So I like this for him. He's gonna obviously gonna dominate down there. And then when he gets called back up, he's gonna feel refreshed. He's gonna feel like a new person.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these types of things happen before, where the guys get sent down that have been up here for a while. So it's kind of weird to see them down there. But like, we got one in
Yeah,
particular. We are just talking about the Cubs. Ian Happ was sent down, and a
yes, he
lot of people
was.
didn't like it at the time, and he was very down about it. But at the time, but came back up and look at him now, All-Star Gold Glover, and he's getting it
Yeah,
done. So
yeah,
you never know. And I think Manoa, especially with how young he is, especially with his stuff, I think he'll be able to figure it out and come back. But
absolutely.
another bad news, some more bad news that came out this week is Jacob DeGrom out for the season. He's made six
Mhm.
appearances this year in 2023, and I don't know if you saw his comments, but he got very emotional. And man, I mean,
Yeah,
it was just a matter of time. I mean, it's one of those things where like that's got to hit like like a ton of bricks, right? Is that just every single time that you think you're coming back, doing this and that, you're such a great pitcher, and once again. And it's like I'm sure everything hit him all at once. Maybe that's why he got emotional. Like, man, I don't blame whatsoever because you love to play this game, I'm sure, and then you could speak to it more. But like you love to play this game so much when you can't, it probably pisses you off more than it makes you sad. And it's just
yeah,
insane and rough for the Rangers who are playing so well even without him. And a lot of people were thinking we talked about it, I believe last week. Hey, if he's able to come back and he's able to give you 3, 4 starts in October, that's worth
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
unfortunately, he won't be able to do that this year. He might be able to do it last year, or sorry, excuse, he'll be able to do it next year. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Jacob Degrom once again being out, man?
Super, super unfortunate. I know a lot of people on the internet are sort of clowning him for always being injured, and when he doesn't. This isn't something that he wakes up and thinks to himself, "I'm gonna get hurt
Hmm.
today."
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. This is a dog, bro, and even with his season shutting down, he pitched 30 and a third, and had a 2.67 ERA. Dude, he was shoving, and if people remember, he did have a rough debut with the Rangers.
Hmm.
But really, really turned this year around, going into it. So it's sad, man. And for the Rangers to heat up as much as they have, he definitely would have been the icing on the cake for them to
Hmm.
continue this success. So super unfortunate. Definitely wishing him a speedy recovery because dude, that sucks, man. That really sucks. And I love watching Degrom pitch, and I've always felt bad as to how injury prone he's been throughout his
Hmm.
career. But in the times that he's healthy, man, he's lights out. So I mean, the league can any hitter right now could maybe have a sigh of relief that they don't have to face him, but he'll be back next year, shoving. So definitely wishing him a speedy recovery is very unfortunate.
Yeah, of course, and like I said, the Rangers doing well. Despite that, they're sitting 40-21, 4.5 games ahead of the second place Rangers. The Rangers have the best run differential in the game, even better than the
Yeah.
the the Rays, who have the best record. Rangers are
Hmm.
plus 154, so they're just getting it done. And not only that, but especially at home where they're 21-9. So,
Yeah.
um, oh, that's going to be a race. I think it's going to be really interesting. We talked about it last week as well with the Rangers and Astros. So it's going to be fun to watch. Another one, real quick, Judge to the IL with his toe injury. And he was going off. I mean, that's unfortunate there because he was on
Oof.
pace again, and he can still do it right because it's Judge. But I mean, he was on
Yeah.
pace to hit the same mark of home runs here, and he's going to be missing a few weeks here with that toe injury. And the Yankees just can't seem to win without him. And
Yeah.
It's just rough to see that, especially like I said, they lost the first 2 games against the White Sox. And yeah, so I mean that's something that just like the DeGrom thing, unfortunately, is a recurring thing. To see
Yeah.
Judge go to the IL, but hopefully he's able to come back stronger than ever. The last thing I did want to talk to you about is bad for us, but good for the rest of the league, and that's the
Mhm.
arrival of Elly De La Cruz.
That's
Who,
good.
dude, oh my God.
Oh
Just
my
as if
goodness.
the Cubs didn't need any more problems facing the Reds, as if Friedel, and those guys, Bossler, like those guys weren't enough. Um, no, they bring up another stud, and this guy annihilates baseballs every
Oh
day.
my gosh.
458 home run or a foot home run the other day for his first home run. That dude is it's like a cartoon character. And you know what's crazy is that like when before he came up, that they said he that a lot of people he reminded them of a left-handed Tatis, and I'm seeing it now firsthand that is completely as
Yeah.
advertised. But yeah, he hit a home
Yeah.
run. This dude, it being his first home run too, even looked back at his dugout, put the double 40 because of course he's wearing 44. But man,
Yeah.
what are your first thoughts of seeing Elly De La Cruz? Because this is for real, the future of Cincinnati Red baseball, man.
I want to be like, bro, who made you? Who made you? And I remember looking at a bunch of clips online and seeing that the amount of times that he is catching he has such a great swing, man,
Mhm.
and he's strong and he's quick and he's catching a barrel. He knows how to get his hands inside the baseball every single time. Oh my gosh! What did that home run almost go out of the stadium? That's a
Yeah,
big ball.
it
That's
was
a
like the
high
last two
porch out
rows.
there.
Yeah, it was like the last
Yes,
2 rows.
I can see it now. He's gonna come to Wrigley. He's gonna put one over the right field scoreboard. It's gonna be okay.
He
We're
might
gonna be
knock it
fine.
down. He
He
might
might
knock
knock
it
it
down.
down because he's gonna hit it quite a few times in his career. um,
Oh
man,
man.
bro, it's fun to watch and good for the Reds too. The Reds got. I'm. They're not gonna be. I don't know, man. The Reds got something interesting cooking with their
Yeah,
young core, and I
yeah.
don't know if it's. I don't think it's gonna be this year, but they got some really good things going right now with some of the
Hmm.
young guys, and he's not talked about at the moment too much, but great job by Jonathan India this year to this point.
Yeah.
Really becoming a leader in that clubhouse, according to other guys. And so that's cool. That's really cool. So the Reds got something cooking. Not yet. There's not something to be scared of in this moment, but for down the line, just let's just keep our eyes on the Cincinnati Reds. So Elly De La Cruz, oh my gosh, what a kid and what a personality for this team. So double thumbs up. I look forward to seeing him play everywhere but Wrigley Field and against the Cubs.
Yeah, no, and you know what's crazy is that you say that not yet, but dude, they're sitting 5 games back of first place, and
Yeah, no, yeah.
if they
Anything
catch
can
fire, but
happen.
it's like any team, exactly. Any team in the Central can just
Yeah,
catch fire. I mean, the Cardinals are eight
yeah,
games back, and even they're not out of it. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like I was thinking too is like because they keep talking the Reds have this prospect, the Reds have this prospect because their farm system is just loaded with young guns and look, and I was like, man. Not yet, though. They're not kind of. I'm not scared of the Reds yet. No, I'm scared of the Reds now. It might be.
yeah.
So we'll see
No,
what
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
But
It can happen.
it's good. But it's good to see at least a team that they haven't really they have one playoff appearance I believe since 2012, which was in 2020, the COVID
Mhm.
year. So they need
Fun year to
something.
watch him too.
Exactly, and they're getting it this year with Elly De La Cruz and way more guys that are coming up. I mean, they still got Hunter Green up here. They got all these guys like Friedel having a great year.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to with those Reds, and they're gonna give Cubs trouble, of course. I mean, hey, you know what?
Yes, they are.
And one more thing, yeah, the one thing that people aren't thinking about is that the NL Central is weak right now. Yes,
Hmm.
but dude, give it a couple of years when Pete Crow Armstrong's up here, Kevin
This
Alcantara's
is
up
what I said
here.
earlier this year,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the Central has not been the most competitive, but they're also very young and talented in this
Yeah,
division. This
yeah,
isn't gonna be a long term thing.
yeah, yeah. And like and not even that, just O'Neal Cruz, who we forget about because of course he got injured for the
Right.
Pirates, is like, man,
Hmm.
he comes back up here. He, of course has a great duo there with Key Brian Hayes.
Hmm.
The Brewers have a great farm system as well. So it's yeah, this whole thing about the Midwest might not last very long.
Yeah, no.
But that's a
People
good
forget
place.
about 2015 and 2016 very quickly as well.
That
Those are
is
some
true. That is true.
fun
Right.
years for the Central.
Yeah, yeah, we're like the two teams that went to the wild card game in the NL, the Cubs and the Pirates. They both won 100 games. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that you're right. That's insane. But that's a good place to wrap things up for this edition of the At Bat Baseball Podcast presented by War Media. This was Saul Rodriguez and Miles Porter. Once again, you can, of course, before we go, I got to let you know, check out, of course, all our other shows here on the War Media network, where you have, the Open Run podcast with Gabe Wilkins and Josh Hicks, where they talk all things NBA Finals right now. Jokic and the Nuggets just 2 games away from winning their first Finals in franchise history. And of course, they talk about Monty Williams joining the Pistons. And of course, look at all the rest of our stuff on our Substack as well, with guys like James Jefferson, who started writing for us as well. So welcome to him. And Stephanie Strambluski as well, who has written for us as well about the WNBA.
Yeah.
So look at all our coverage from YouTube to Spotify to Substack as well. For Saul Rodriguez, Miles Porter, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.